A woman named Doña DeLuca didn't realize how much her dog loved her kids until she went into her daughter's room and saw something unusual. The dog acted oddly around the baby, which surprised many people. Doña DeLuca has loved dogs since she was a little kid. Her parents gave her one when she was very young, and it made her sad whenever her pet got sick or hurt. She formed a strong connection with every puppy her dad got for her. When she became a mom, she taught her kids how to be good with dogs because she wanted them to have a happy childhood like hers. She knew their lives wouldn't be complete without a pet. So she adopted a puppy from Haiti's Legacy Dog Rescue in Tampa, Florida. The dog became a wonderful part of their family and stayed with them for 13 lovely years before passing away. Molly, her 7-year-old daughter, and Joey, her 4-year-old son, were really sad when their best friend got old and passed away. Doña and her husband, Adam, took some time to mourn the loss of the dog, and then they decided to get another pet. At first, they thought about getting a different kind of animal, like a cat or a rabbit, but eventually, they decided to get another dog. They were used to having a pet that needed attention and enjoyed long walks in the park. They weren't ready to change their routines to take care of a different type of pet. So, Doña went back to the shelter and started browsing. Haas, a 2-year-old German Shepherd, had been rescued by the facility some months earlier. The dog had undergone maltreatment and some traumatizing conditions that nearly killed him. However, staying in the shelter meant that the canine would be rehabilitated and trained to coexist peacefully with humans and other pets. Many visitors to the facility had boycotted the dog for fear that it was too dangerous to be a pet, but the animal's dark past did not deter Doña from adopting him. He was beautiful and calm when she saw him, and she thought he was perfect for her family. Her husband, Adam, though, thought she was crazy to adopt a traumatized dog. He feared that it would hurt his kids and make them regret it. It was difficult to accept that the animal had undergone rehabilitation, and they had nothing to fear. Adam had heard stories of pet dogs hurting children when adults were not around to monitor them, and he didn't want it to happen to his family. The pair discussed the idea extensively and decided to put the adoption on hold for a while. However, after weeks without an animal at home, the family realized they couldn't cope anymore. This time, they all went to the shelter together, and Doña had the chance to introduce Haas to the rest of her family. Later, DeLuca even added that Haas looked like her. She noted that some of his features, like his eyes, were similar to hers. This was obviously not true, but she was desperate to convince everyone that he was the ideal fit for her family. Her words convinced Adam, and Haas found his forever home. Days after entering the house for the first time, he won everybody's hearts. Molly and Joey loved the dog and always played with him. Even the neighbors cared for him because he was kind to them too. Haas soon began living up to the meaning of his name. Haas would accommodate everyone that visited, and when he strolled to the neighbor's compound, they would accept him with open arms. He soon became a household celebrity, with friends visiting the apartment just to see Haas. At night, he looked out for the kids without them even knowing. He would follow them around and watch the environment to ensure they were in good hands. He played with them in the pool during the day and preferred to eat with them. Their bond was deep and strong, and both Doña and Adam were now convinced that adopting the German Shepherd had been a great idea. A few weeks after Haas settled in, though, he developed a strange habit. He would spend hours in the backyard, walking aimlessly as though he had lost an expensive item. Doña noticed his actions but shrugged them off. It was his home too, so he was permitted to do anything. This strange behavior only lasted a couple of days before getting worse. One day, Haas started following the kids around wherever they went, refusing to grant them even the privacy they needed in the bathroom. He would bark at the slightest provocation from the adults. That afternoon, the pet dog, who had grown into a protector, became aggressive around Molly's room and started rejecting Doña's attention. He used to stop whatever he was doing whenever he saw her and instantly lay on his back for pets. This time, things were different. He wished he could talk and tell her to stay away, but he couldn't. She remained clueless about the danger and started fearing that the dog might hurt her child. While she trusted Haas around her kids and had no reason to doubt his loyalty, things were different now, and she wished she knew why. Molly and her grandmother had been out all day and were both tired. They had their bath and settled for dinner before going to bed, where they shared one last cookie before turning off the lights. Apparently, they left food crumbs on the floor but deferred to cleaning to the next morning. As they tried to sleep, Haas started barking uncontrollably. Molly was unmoved, thinking it was the usual tactic he would use whenever he was lonely. However, Grandma read his behavior as a warning but didn't know what to watch out for. She turned on the lights and called out for Donia, asking her to help find the cause of the dog's restlessness. The two women probed the room, hoping to find the possible provocation, but saw nothing. Then they got to the far corner and tried to look behind the large wooden wardrobe, but that's when House barked even more loudly and jumped forward, forcing them to retreat. Before they could realize what was happening, House was unconscious and gasping for breath. His aggression reduced, and weakness took over. After a few seconds, he lost his strength and collapsed. Donia was scared and drew closer to her pet dog to examine it. Only then did she realize that something had motivated his actions throughout the day. On his body, she found 3 large snake bites on his front leg and immediately recognized the aggressor, a rattlesnake. A rattlesnake will happily bite its victim more than once, especially if they are within reach. She ran to the kitchen and asked that her kid and mother leave the room. She came back with a big chopping knife, and when she found the intruder innocently coiled under the bed, she hit it with purpose. A rattlesnake's venom damages tissue and affects the circulatory system. It also destroys the skin and blood cells by causing internal hemorrhage. It takes a few seconds to travel across the victim's body, and that's why Haas had collapsed immediately. When not treated immediately, the bite results in organ damage or death. Experts advise that victims receive emergency care no later than 30 minutes after the bite. Donia was scared for her dog's health and phoned emergency services. Luckily, they arrived minutes later and took the hero dog to the vet to take care of it. The snake had injected large volumes of deadly venom into Haas's system, thus giving him little chance of survival. Thankfully, Haas got to the hospital in Tampa early enough for him to be revived. He was given several vials of anti-venom per day for 5 days and then had to spend some time in the ICU. Doctors were amazed because Haas recovered quickly. People who lived nearby and heard about what he did shared the news on social media. People on social media supported the dog by giving kind words and money. They even started a GoFundMe page called Help Save Haas, and they collected over $52,000, way more than their $28,000 goal. People who love animals from all over the world sent encouraging messages to Donia and her family and wished the dog a fast recovery. Donia was very happy and surprised because she got help and support from people in different countries like Sweden, even though she didn't know anyone there. She thought it was amazing. Eventually, House went back to Molly and Joey, his favorite people, and continued being their loyal protector. What do you think about House of Bravery? Please share your thoughts in the comments.